All right, let's begin. Hello everyone, my name is Lauri. I am the head of the Research and Development Coordination section department at the Estonian Information System Authority. Welcome to CyberMeetUp. It is February, and we are glad that that every one of you is here. We do this every month, except for summer. And we do this in English to accommodate all of you who are not native Estonian speakers. Even though we do this in English, this is a rare occasion, by the way. This is a very rare occasion where all of our speakers today are going to be Estonians. If you haven't noticed, usually we have, a couple of English speakers up here as well. But this time, this is an Estonian speakers only. And let's hear what they have to say. We are going to hear mostly about incidents and threat analysis today. And the biggest question, or the biggest thing that's out, is also on your tables. So the Estonian version of the cybersecurity annual assessment or review, or however we would call this, 𝗓𝗶𝗶𝗲𝗁 in Estonian, is out in Estonian on paper, and it's out in English online. And we have our head of analysis and prevention department at RIA to talk about what's written in there. And then we're going to hear from this company called Hansab. It's briefly mentioned in this cybersecurity annual report as well, who Kristo will be talking to you about the incident which happened last year as well. And last but not least, our head of the Health and Welfare Information System Centre, called TEHIK, acronym TEHIK in Estonian, is something that's very important to everybody, and we are lucky and we are privileged to have the head of their Information Security Department, Anto, to talk to us about what they do and what the challenges are that they are facing every day. But let's get it started. I'm glad and I'm happy to invite 𝗏 up here to talk to you about the annual review. Here's a microphone. Your slides are almost, oh yeah, right there they are. There's a clicker. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauri. Good evening, everybody. I think this is now the third time that the yearly assessment or the yearbook has been presented here. So let's get started. I don't see the slides. Oh, okay. So here they are. It's been published actually since 2007, although there have been some gap years in between. In 2007, of course, was the year of the first massive DDoS against Estonian, different websites and government institutions from the east. So that's when RIA's predecessor decided to publish a report about it. Yes, the English version actually will come from the printers tomorrow. So if you need any copies, you can actually get in touch, I'm sure, through Lauri's team or actually through me, and you can get some copies. So the yearbook, it takes a look at the most, there's a general picture of what happened last year in Estonian cyberspace, and then there are, some of the more interesting incidents. I will not touch on the Hansab incident, of course. And there's also some chapters about how RIA tries to make life in Estonia safer against those incidents and attacks. And it also tries to sort of look ahead a bit into this year. It's called the yearbook 2025, even though it looks back in 2024, so maybe we should change it in the future. It may be a bit confusing. What to take from here is mostly is that there has always been like a, well, not always, but for the last years there's been like this 20% rise, and then in registered incidents with an impact, and now last year it was a 96% rise, so it's almost doubled. So this big, red, scary looking number. But luckily, oh, there's this slide as well. So you see also that I think every month to month last year was a more bigger number than the year before. And also, actually, I might add that the number for December last year was already surpassed in January this year. So the trend, as of now, looks to be really quite clear. Luckily, there were not really that many that serious incidents. Phishing and different scams are about 2/3 of all registered incidents with an impact. And the number and share keep growing year on year. And there's also actually quite a bit of service disruptions, which are normally not due to a cyber attack, but because of a malware, software, hardware problem, or just basic human error. Maybe an interesting, or one of the most interesting chapters in this yearbook is about the first ever national attribution by Estonia, or the Estonian government, against cyber criminals, or actually Russian intelligence officers who in the autumn of 2020 managed to get into several Estonian government authorities' systems and steal quite a bit of data from there. So it took, since the discovery of the incident, it took 4 years of cooperation within authorities in this country and with our partners abroad to come to an attribution process, to come to an end of, to be able to attribute this attack to 4, or was it 3, Russian intelligence officers from GRU. So this is actually quite a historic event in the Estonian context, because Estonia has frequently been like a co-sponsor of different attributions by other countries, mostly the US and the UK. But the first time that we did it ourselves now is this one. Then there was this quite a massive data leak, probably the biggest data leak in the country for almost 30 years. Basically it was almost half, or approximately half of the Estonian population was impacted by this. I also got an email from the company. I guess a lot of you here also got the same email. And actually, sadly, in this book, because the investigation is still going on, there is not a lot of new information compared to what was already published last year. But there's still also sort of a quote or a short paragraph or a couple of paragraphs by the Allium UPI. So they say that they have learned from this, and they understand that keeping processes tight and right attitude and a lot of checks, that's important. So it's good that they learned this. So the DDoS thing we've talked about here as well for the last 2 presentations of the yearbook. Again, another record number of DDoS attacks, mostly from the Russian hacktivists across the border, different groups of them. Some of them also quite closely affiliated with the special services in the country. Another record number, but a bit less of them had an impact. So not a new record in that sense. I think this is still the most that was from 2023 September. This is still the biggest, the most serious impact one of those DDoS attacks had, because there have been, of course, some websites down and also some disruptions to banking services, you know, like at the evening time mostly, but this was more than a day. So this is still the biggest impact from those guys. And just put it here to illustrate that this DDoS thing from the East is not only against us or even the EU or NATO countries who support Ukraine. We had a Korean delegation in the autumn in RIA, and this is a slide from a presentation to them. So we managed to find their online, they're bragging about attacking and bringing down several Korean ministries' websites because Korea also promised to intensify or step up aid to Ukraine because, of course, what's happening with North Korea and Russia and Ukraine. So this is like a global phenomenon. Then I mentioned that there is, you know, anyway, let's go to fraud. 8 million euros of losses for the private individuals last year, approximately, and approximately 50 million for companies. This is what we've been told by the police. I think the same number approximately for both the year before. And a colleague from the police said recently, I heard him say at the presentation that this is actually quite a stable number for years now. And the funny thing is that here the numbers are quite stable, but supposedly in other countries they keep going up and up. So we must be doing something right, the police, hopefully us as well. So that's a good thing. And the numbers actually are, I mean, per capita, they're really quite small. If you also consider that globally this thing is worth trillions. And now let's talk a bit about what we do to combat all that. This is the statistic office's sort of work that we've been commissioning, and it asks a lot of questions from people about how they act in cyberspace. And now we intend to update this a bit also to take into account maybe the scams and fraud and stuff like that, not just whether you do this or do that. I would just look at maybe the bottom line, bottom graph, the gray one. Those are people who haven't done anything to be more safe online. And we're very happy that from 2020 and about 13%, this has gone to about 8%. And this is one of the key markers that we also follow in RIA. We hope that this keeps going down, but, well, at least like we saw previously, people's losses are stable, so maybe even if this keeps stable, that's also not a bad thing. But we also try to do a lot of awareness raising. Last year in October, which of course is the Cybersecurity Month EU-wide, we had another awareness raising campaign, which you could see also, you know, in addition to social media, also on the streets and billboards, like famous Estonian people they're saying that please be careful. And then the web page that it directs to, we updated that as well. So now it's nice and shiny and looks better, is more logical, and the content is updated. The work is still going on with that. And also in the framework of this awareness raising campaign last October, it is actually quite a cool thing happened that we managed to agree with the Estonian National Broadcasting to get like a 26 episode mini-series about cyber on ERR. So it's on every Monday, I think a bit before 8. It started in October, it's still running, and the last episode will be on the 26th or 4th of March, or whatever the last Monday of March is. The numbers are not probably the viewers' numbers are not probably as high as you would expect before 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀 on Wednesday evening, but they're still quite impressive. And as one of the hypotheses is that also maybe the older generation who does the worst in terms of the statistics office service that they, as they watch more TV, then they could also benefit most from this. Let's see. Then also we entered the schools as RIA for the first time. We prepared, having gotten the idea from Finland, who got the idea from Brazil of all places, some booklets both for parents on the left and then for kids from classes, so years 1 to 5 on the right. We did a few thousand of each, and we basically said on Facebook that every school who wants them should come and get them, and they were gone in like 2 days. And now there will be 30,000 more copies of the yellow one. We decided to ditch the purple one. So next autumn, every second kid from years 1 to 5 who goes to school in Estonia will get this yellow one. So I think that's also quite a nice thing to do or to have. I've talked here before also about the cybersecurity course that RIA offers. There's been questions about whether that will be in English. It's now available in English in September. Sadly, there are not too many users of it yet. So the biggest, I think, 2 entities I can name are the Foreign Ministry and then a company which spoke at the last CyberMeetUp, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 Estonia. That's the 2 maybe that ring a bell in this room. So I'm doing a bit of advertising here as well. It's available, it's free, just get in touch. There's also to mention maybe another thing that's a new thing from last year in cyber and awareness raising is that RIA's blog, which was not very sort of, well, it was not very interesting most of the time, and had only 1 types of articles about security vulnerabilities, which of course were important, and they continue, but we now try to do more of those on different topics. So here is something about DeepSeek, then there is the fact that Windows 10 will not be supported since from October, you know, and also then the security, the regular stuff. So that's also what we try to do more in terms of awareness raising. Now back to what happened elsewhere. So there is actually two chapters about Ukraine, like the general one, basically and then there is there's a commentary from one of the higher ranking officials in the main Ukraine cybersecurity authority. There are several of those. So this is the gist of it, that what we write and what he writes. So less incidents, more against government, still there to support military goals of the Russians. And the biggest incident was in December when about 60 government registries or systems were down, and they actually had to write with pen and paper for a couple of weeks because it was a massive attack. And then a short slide about elsewhere, what happened elsewhere globally. So the CrowdStrike update was also felt in this country. I think Ryanair flights were actually affected in Estonia. In Tallinn airport, there was problems with boarding, so it had to be done manually somehow. Chinese hackers got into several US telecom companies. Somebody had a video conference with a deepfake figure and lost 25 million after that because he just transferred it, and stuff like that. Also, there is the Romanian presidential elections where the result was cancelled by the Supreme Court because of massive disinformation and manipulation campaigns on social media. So is that cyber, is that hybrid, is that both? That's still a bit vague, but I'm sure this issue will come up more and more also maybe in the context of this country in the coming years. There's also local elections this year actually, in October. And the final slide I have is about this year. So what we always predict at the end of the yearbook, what we think will happen in the year of the yearbook. And we predict, and the January number supported another record number of incidents. We also think that there maybe were quite long overdue, or like a big incident like the one that the 4 guys were pointed the finger to. So we think that that could happen this year as well. And the Chinese thing will dominate the Estonian media. It has done since, I think, October, November. There always something Chinese now is coming up in Estonia. Then the media is very quick to ask us about it, and I think this will continue, as well as well. You can read the rest for yourself. I think, yeah, I think I've taken my time that has been allotted to me, and I leave it here. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Stay here for a second. First of all, I'm going to ask you the first question, and we're going to get another question from there as well. So this crowd here is a community. They all know cybersecurity is important. They all know that, you know, like there's you know, bad guys out there, and we need to do things. What, in light of this yearbook, do you want to ask them to do, or to say, or to take away from this yearbook? What's the main point that you would want them to take away in their jobs?
Life will get more difficult and more dangerous, and please stay vigilant.
All right, that's upbeat right there. Very good. No need to be upbeat, but there's a question over there. Let's take one question from the audience.
Hi, Matt. Hi. Quick question. In terms of like your point of view, cybersecurity posture of the country, both public, private sector, how do you think it has increased, and sort of the gap between the actual need and where we are today has grown, or it has decreased?
I'm sorry, because somebody was coughing. What was the first part of your question? The private-public partnership, or?
No. The cybersecurity posture of both public sector and private sector. You think it has increased? So basically, we have invested and we are more secure, or
I think we are more secure. Definitely more secure. I think also the whole Russia-Ukraine war. I think since then, I think it has increased quite a lot. And I think the last thing that actually helped, well, at least the government authorities and also the energy sector was what happened last weekend. So everybody, I think, grew a lot in posture and in preparedness, and there was a very good public-private partnership going on there as well. Thank you.
So let's take one more question. Okay, you good?
Yeah.
One more question over here.
Yeah, thanks for the overview. I'd like to ask about the increase in the number of incidents. So do you have any idea how much of it can be attributed to organizations and people actually doing a better job at registering and reporting incidents? And how much of it is just more victims? Thanks.
Thank you. I cannot say like an exact percentage, but I think I'm quite sure that there is more reporting going on, also because the thing is more prevalent in media. I mean, it's so much more prevalent than maybe 3 years ago, even 2 years ago. I think that also helps quite a lot. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's give her another round of applause, please. The question that you asked is actually it's a very good question, because it's actually something that we want to encourage everybody to do. Most of these incidents that you read about in this yearbook are there because people report them. If we don't find out about them, then they don't get into into these stats, and we don't have anything to share with you, and we don't have anything to actually learn from. And this community meeting is mostly about us learning from each other and trying to figure out if there is something that sometimes we're competitors, sometimes we're friends, But this community meeting, from our point of view, should be about sharing and should be about collaboration as much as we can. And this brings me to our next speaker. Kristo is here because he is going to tell you about an incident that actually happened and what happened with the accident. And this is the exact thing that we encourage. If this could be an example of if you ever find an incident which is important enough to share with everybody else so that they can learn how to take care of these incidents, then this could be an example of how to do that. Take it away.
Hi. Okay, so I'll start my stopper. So every time I've done this presentation, the record so far is 30 minutes. Here I was told you've got 20 minutes, so let's see if we can skip some bits, which I think made me easier as you all may be more familiar with the cyber stuff, so I don't have to go into that much detail. But why are we talking about this is because we were dedicated a little chapter in this yearbook. Our company's Hansab. So many people don't know what Hansab does. And we actually, I think we have a couple of guys from IT here somewhere as well that I haven't seen, but in case they are, they may be able to talk to you later as well. But why are we talking about our incident is because it's kind of relevant in terms of what we do and what our services are and what effect it can have and what effect it could have had. And also, as just mentioned, why are we sharing? And this is often asked, like, why are you sharing? Like, most companies don't want to talk about when they get hit by these kind of things. And it's not about how secure we are or how good we are. It's a network. If our customer fails, we fail as well. If we fail, our customers fail, our partners fail. So the network thing sort of, it affects every one of us. So we have to be sort of like strong together, so sharing this stuff is relevant. So I won't be talking about which servers we use or what routers or switches and stuff like that I usually get asked about after these presentations by IT guys or IT people. And I don't even know about all of that stuff as I'm looking at it from the perspective of the CEO. But I'm talking more about how we frame it in terms of how should we think about it. It's not a technical problem. It's a business problem if you get hit by a cyber incident or a cyber attack or whatever it is. Because it takes a long time to build something, and this 1 minute incident can completely just ruin everything. And it's not about what kind of technology you have or had. It's about what you do in those 1 or 2 minutes and what you do afterwards. And what happens to your reputation and trustworthiness, really. And this is what makes it the business problem. So also, just shortly, jumping into the mission, like what's our mission? And this is the second time in my career that I've had sort of a big incident or a crisis that I've dealt with. First was COVID. This incident was the second one, and both times we were able to sort of jump to our values, our mission, all of these things that everyone thinks are just there as little words on the paper or wall. But when we got to the point where we had to make decisions, what are we going to do? And on one hand, things cost money. On the other hand, like, do you want to do the right thing? Our mission is to make your life more secure. So we could easily just ask, so like, does this decision that we're about to make your life secure? If we couldn't answer that, it was clear what we had to do. And this is also why it probably took a lot longer to set everything back up and get back online with everything, because we were extremely careful with all of that. So what does Hansab do? And that's a fun one. Like a lot of people know Hansab very differently. Some people know that, oh, so you're the guys who print ID cards. Yes, and by the way, ID cards was the part of the business that was completely unaffected of this. It was in a different building, different network, completely isolated, nothing to do with the incident, and that's intentionally it was set up like that. But rest of it, parcel terminals, audiovisual solutions, payment terminals, and security solutions, so on, so on, so on. And like the most crucial part in terms of this incident was the ATMs and the cash in transit services. So if you ever wonder how cash gets into ATMs and how it's sort of driven around and taken here and there, so this is the service we offer to banks. And of course, high security and everything, but these things don't happen manually. Like we don't sort of have this little Excel table where we count how much money somewhere is. Like there are systems, even like AI and stuff that sort of like tells when or where or what you need to do. So imagine you lose all of that. You sort of have to fall back to very simple solutions again. So this is what we do. And now a little graph that myself, I'm quite proud of sketching it. And this usually is useful for business leaders when I've been doing presentations, because not everyone knows what is a virtualization environment, like all these things. So I just try to like really dumb it down. And this is a very, very simplified sort of like representation of what Hansab system looks like. So essentially we have our, what do you call like our business. We have our employees in there with their computers to use the ERP system and whatnot, all different systems, our cash centers. And then somewhere there is a server room with a virtualization server. And there are virtual machines and then services running on it. And all these services, whether it's the 𝗟𝗶𝗀𝗀𝘀 system or it's something else, or planning system or a client system or just a server for sort of like connecting to clients, customers. So these are all there. And of course, it's all was all mirrored and still is all mirrored to Telia, where we have a copy of that. And outside our scope or our system is all the client or customer services or solutions, ATMs, terminals, automation solutions, and so on, so on. And luckily, completely separate outside is Microsoft Office and all of that, like mail servers and so on, which was really good that it was separate. I'll come back to that in a bit. So what happened to us was, it was a Friday, 1st of March, so just about almost a year ago. It was my third work week in Hansab. I had just joined Hansab as CEO. I was in manufacturing before for 10 years, and I joined Hansab because, oh yeah, technology, more vibrant and exciting and all of that. And in my third work week, this happened. So on Friday, the internet sort of got cut off. It wasn't there because it's Friday, so well, fair enough. We'll continue on Monday. You don't think much of it, right? So in a couple of hours, like when I was doing my stuff somewhere else, I got a call from the IT that, okay, Christo, I think we have a problem. The servers aren't coming up. Like no one really knew what words to use or what exactly is happening. And that's one thing that we learned, that it's why we use the word incident in the first place, because we don't know what it is. Everyone thinks that it's really clear from the first minute that, oh, right, you're being attacked. No, it took us a while. I think it was like the evening of that Friday when I went back to the office and the IT guys like slowly and really carefully started using the word attack, or maybe it's malicious, or maybe it's not, maybe it's bad. But no one still knew. The thing was that the servers started rebooting, but because the virtualization environment was gone, they didn't have anything to reboot from, and they didn't come up. And it took a while to figure that out. Of course, we got 𝗏𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀 and Primendi and Telia and a lot of partners on board and helping us with figuring this out. Okay, so a week here, we were just setting up everything again, restoring the services. And then another Friday at 5, we identified an anomaly. And again, these like the words are really important that you use, because media would would really enjoy if we were really sort of nervous and went like, yeah, we're being attacked for the second week now. We still didn't know why this happened. We just knew sort of like what was gone, what happened. We still didn't know why. And again, during the recovery, some things didn't come up, something happened, didn't know something. We had to communicate it somehow to our clients as well. So, but what happened was similar event to the first one, that virtualization environment stuff didn't come up. So we started from scratch, basically. Again, the security bit. We couldn't take the chance that maybe it's the same thing, maybe we didn't get rid of it, maybe it's a new attack, maybe it could be anything. So we can't take the chance. We started again and went even further and basically changed all the infrastructure, like moved out, changed all the machines, everything. We didn't take a chance there. So it took us about a month to actually get back online with all the services. And at first, of course, everyone thought like, right, so a couple of days, a week, a month to get the basic services online, to get like the, sort of this digital sort of feeling back that we have digital presence. And the last time, well, not the last time, but like in September when I did the presentation, I could still say that we still had follow-up actions happening. And now I think we're sort of finished with them, but on the other hand, I don't know where to draw the line. I think to some extent we're still doing them and still going them over, but I'm not sure if it's because of that or because it's normal. But it took a while to actually get back to normalcy. So back to the slide with the sketch. So that was the system, and that was what happened. So the virtualization environment got, which is sort of like the holy grail, which holds everything. And again, this is a very simplified version of it. This got attacked, and we sort of isolated ourselves, cut off internet, and chucked everyone out. So the effect of that. Well, first we increased security, not just digital, but also physical, because again, we're dealing with cash and all these things. And we didn't know whether it's part of something bigger or if there's something else happening. So we had to like, obviously think larger, and obviously there are processes and procedures and all of that in place for that. Systems. The monitoring didn't work, so I mentioned the cache thing, that we didn't know how, like, what was going on, how much of what we had somewhere, so how do you plan? Remote management wasn't possible, so at first, like most of our client solutions work on their premises and they're not tied to our servers. But obviously at some point they're going to have problems, they need troubleshooting or they need updates or whatever the reasons are, but we didn't have our servers, so that didn't work. No overview of received and issued invoices and orders. Seems like a no biggie. That's something you can easily sort of like sort out later. And like kind of, yeah, but it actually becomes a huge problem if you're a sort of big, vibrant business. You can sort of cope with that for a day, 2, 5, maybe a week, maybe 2, depends. But like the longer you go, the bigger the backlog, and clearing that backlog later is, I don't know, maybe impossible even, because you lose all track of what do you have in stock, what's in warehouses, like what have you delivered, what haven't you delivered, who has paid, who hasn't. At some point, the only indicator we had was how much money we have in bank, and that's not a very good indicator for running a business. So yeah, so that's a really important bit in terms of business. But that's not obviously something that everyone wants to prioritize in the beginning, like, cause like everything else is burning, so like it seems like something in the background, but it needs attention. Updates to client devices didn't cover filling ATMs, cash planning, exchange of information, access control system, same thing, like even our own building, because we couldn't change the permissions enough. So we had new people at work. It was the first or second or third day something. And that's fine. They understand that we can't give them the access and they can't get into the office for a day or a week or 2. But when it was the 4th week and we still had to tell them that, like, right, so you can't come to the office yourself. And he's asking like, so okay, so I have this computer, but when will I actually be able to do something with it because there's nothing on it? So So like these things, they become important, and it's the reason why I'm talking about it is because it's important to start dealing with these things from the early on. Just waiting for them to pile up and then expecting to somehow later do them, it doesn't. It's better to just early on have someone deal with that. So what did we do? So I talked about the security. The crisis group meetings on different levels, regular intervals, like some were like every hour at some point, every 2 hours, 5 hours, and so on, so on. But even zero information was absolutely crucial information, because you have maybe 10, maybe 100 people who are expecting to understand what's happening. And even telling them that we didn't do this and we're not going to do that, and tomorrow is not going to happen anything, and this week is not going to happen anything. Even that is important, because now they can sort of like set their course. What we focused on was service continuity. The digital services were down, but for like users or customers and so, like not much changed, I guess. Like mostly they didn't notice. So we tried to keep all the services running, and that was the aim, and I think we did okay with that. So obviously you can't restore everything, you have to set priorities, which is something that should be done before the incident happens. A lot easier to deal with this. And the big part of what I usually talk about is the communication bit, which gets too little attention. As I said, it's not a technical problem, it's a business problem. And once this thing happens, so the house is burning, everything is gone bad, so what do you do? Like you're losing credibility, trustworthiness, you're basically a sick person and no one wants to talk to you because no one wants to get sick. And you have to convince everyone that you have everything under control. So thinking through the communication is absolutely crucial, and maybe having partners for that beforehand who know what you do and who you are is a good idea. Because when you go to PR agencies or communication agencies, at that point you spend the day talking to them about, so what are your values? What do you do? Who are you? So you don't have that time, so it's easier to do earlier. And of course, alternative communication channels, teams, and whatnot. And when we're talking about communication, most people think about like public. So you got newspapers, social media, all of that. So like, what are we going to say in the news, in the television? That's one part of it, yeah. But it's also what do you say to your partners? Because you kind of want to be transparent, but for obvious reasons, you can't say everything because you don't know everything. And even the things you may know, you can't tell them because there may or may not be investigations going on. So you're sort of navigating in this minefield where legal advisors are a good thing to have there to help you with what you can and cannot do. And let's not forget the internal communication, which is really easy to forget that, okay, well, we do the television bit and everything, but there are also hundreds of people who have no idea what happened. Just internet went off. They don't know what's going on. And if you're not going to tell them, they're going to sort of go home and just say, oh, everything is crap. Nothing is working. And this is the communication that is public now. So everything, also another conclusion is that the internal communication, it's not internal, it's not confidential, you have to consider that it's public. Everything you say to your employees is public communication potentially. So extremely important bit, but you also want everyone to have on board and be transparent and sort of do all that. So mistakes that were made, or what did we learn from them? So preparation obviously wasn't as good as it could have been, and well, now we've changed everything. We've built everything from ground up, completely changed everything. Although even then, back then, we have ISO standards, PCI and whatnot, like all these things. We had plans, alternatives, but it still happened. So maybe a better philosophy to have is not that you're going to try to avoid this. It's maybe it's better to consider that this is going to happen anyway. It's just a matter of time when it's going to happen. So what are you going to do afterwards? What are you going to do when it happens? So incident versus attack, I mentioned. How do you detect or like figure out that it's an attack? Because once you throw out the word attack publicly, you can't take it back. Now you're talking about completely different thing. Logs are important. This we learned the hard way. We didn't have the luxury of having all the logs to identify everything for several reasons. And but these are the breadcrumbs that sort of like, these are the only things that help. And verify what has actually happened. It's really easy, or there's this human thing that you sort of want to act really quickly and just do something. But if you don't know what happened, it's really easy to screw that up. Maybe restart something or really quickly do something which overwrites something else. And so procedures, I guess, help here. And it's better to have a solution for problems that never arise than to face a problem with no solution. So it's all about preparing. Okay, we'll skip that. The questions, the decision points that you have, or we had, or like some of them at least, none of them are about technology. It's all about priorities, how do we operate, what do we tell, when does how long does the crisis last, when does it end? Are we in violation with something? Like, these are things that you can easily prepare and have a plan of like how you're going to react, what you're going to do. Because you're not going to be dealing with which switch to buy or like what to install. IT will do that, and it's important, but this is business part. So what did we do? A lot of stuff, just a little selection of stuff, but there's actually pages full of changes that we implemented, from like password management to like workstation and like whatnot. So I'm not going to read them, but we built from ground up everything completely differently. And how did we do? It was, we like to think that it was a real-life training exercise, as good as it can be. We survived. I think like we did quite okay with all of that. We identified the weaknesses, kept essential services running physically, ensured secure client connections. So we don't know that, to our knowledge, nothing else happened out of it. And we managed to contain it and isolate it and kill it and restore everything. Recovery took a lot longer than expected and planned. At first, when everyone expected that, like Krista, we don't have to deal with like 3-4 weeks. Like this week, this thing is going to be up, okay? After 4 weeks, we were still struggling with it. So this is something a lot of people in the cyber community also say, like even like with other attacks as well, like 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, like completely normal. But it's very human, I guess, to want to like solve your problems quickly and expect things working out better. And we documented and analyzed everything from the very first sort of things that happened, which again isn't intuitive maybe, because you sort of want to put out the fire. But luckily, our guys started from the very beginning, just documenting everything they did and what happened and what they saw and taking pictures of some things and so on. It helps later. So, last slide, I think. What's important? So everything is important, and this again, like, is mainly for like business leaders and so on. Like, just things to think about. There's no secret weapon that you do this and you will be secure. Like, no, it's just regular stuff. There's no trick. Just passwords, updates. But like in terms like you take care of the users, logs, networks, data, devices, rules and plans, and just prepare and do that and ask questions about these things. Like go ask your IT guys, tell me about limiting user privileges. How do we do that? Like just something to think about. And really, really important bit that we added later on was the external partners in the end. Because getting them on board after this has happened is obviously preferred to not getting them on board at all. But it's a lot easier if they know who you are, what you do, what system you had before it was gone, or what you need, or what your values and missions and everything is. So all this prep work can be done before, because we can expect that these things happen anyway, so why not be prepared? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to take one question, and then will you stick around later on for a little bit? Yeah, okay. One question from the audience.
Thank you. You mentioned quite a few times how important are logs. Did you have logs or not?
Yeah, it's usually nice not to kick the one who's down already. We did, but well, I can't tell all the reasons, but we didn't have all the logs we would have wanted to have. And this is also the reason why we don't know what exactly or where from it came from. And the reasons it could have come from anywhere, so we don't know that. But yeah, so I guess we had some logs, didn't have all the logs we wanted.
All right, thank you so much. We need to continue. Thank you again. Another applause, please. He said there would be other people from the IT here, so you can find them, you can talk to them, and you can ask them those questions, a little bit later over a couple of drinks. We're going to continue. We're going to finish up with the TEHIK, the Health Information Systems. Health and Welfare Information Systems Center. Yeah. Yeah. So here's, take it away. Tell us what do you guys do and what are your challenges? What are you working with? There's a microphone.
Okay, thank you. It works?
It's on.
Sorry?
It's on.
It's on, okay. So, let's see how it works for a moment. Yes. So, hello, I'm Anto from Health and Welfare Information System Center. I'm working there as a head of information system, head of information security department, sorry. And yeah, I'm going to introduce a little bit myself. I'm going to introduce a little bit TEHIK, and most importantly, maybe something from cyber defense point of view. So my presentation is mostly about security data and logs. So yeah, but let's start. So most important bits in the beginning. So do you want to guess how tall am I? No? No, actually I'm not going to tell it because it's private information and I am not allowed. No, I don't need to share it with others. So basically it's something what we do in TEHIK, but yeah, some moments later. I've been in cybersecurity almost 15 years for now. I started as digital forensic investigator, but I quickly moved forward and I started working with security data, log information, and yeah, back 10 and more years, 14 years. We didn't have much experience, neither expensive, fancy software for that. We did our research and we found data mining algorithms were quite powerful for that job. And yeah, we used seriation, cluster analysis, process mining, social network analysis, and yeah. And some years later, we discovered a product like Elastic because we had a large amount of security data and just running these fancy algorithms inside your computer or single server, it wasn't just effective. So, yeah. So, what about TEHIK? As I already said, the TEHIK is a small IT competence center, and we are managing e-services to provide some e-services for health, for social security, and labor. And yeah, there are 250 people or experts providing this kind of services for you. And we love to call us as invisible heroes. It's our slogan. And yeah, our job is to ensure that the right data is on the right time in the right hands. And that's in 24/7. Okay, but let's go forward. So I categorized our, I would say, how to say, we are going to look deeper about data-driven cyber defense challenges and how to overcome those. And I categorized these challenges into 3 groups. And first group. And the first group is mostly about organization. For historical reasons, we know that each department working their own data, their own budget, their own toolset, and also their own goals. They are not sharing information, like information in a data point of view. So security department has their security data, monitoring department has their metrics data, and it's never comes together. So another challenge is technological challenge. I would say the most relevant topic in that field is today that there isn't problem that we don't have fancy software today, or even if we have budget for that. I guess it's the most relevant problem is there if that our processes are so complex and our old software is built on top of those processes. So to switch this software today is really complex and expensive. So, and last one. What are organization and technology without people? So in cyber defense point of view, there are lack of competence people who know how to use analytical tools in cybersecurity. There are lack of Estonians who wants to communicate each other because we are Estonians. And yeah, that's it. So I'm going to provide, I would say, 3rd generation solution, how to use machine learning and AI solutions to overcome these challenges. And yeah, it's a 5-step solution, and hopefully it's like a concept level. It's not going to very deep in technology, but if you have questions later, we can discuss. So, first step is probably the most easiest and but most relevant step. If you have millions of log entries, it's a TEHIK example. There are more than 20 million events log from Microsoft Windows endpoints during a half day. Altogether, I checked yesterday, there was 3.6 million log entries during 90 days. It's a massive amount of data, at least our point of view. And what are the challenges there? So actually, it's only one source from data source. There are much more. There are different servers, there are network devices, there are applications, and how we can analyze this data in one place together. So it's a good idea to use some kind of log normalization or schema mapping frameworks. we are using Elastic Common Scheme. It's not secret. And yes, this is like a first part in analysis. Step 2. As I said, there are a massive amount of log data there, and just using keyword matching or similar concepts, it's not working well for us. Then we start using machine learning, and we are trying to discover we're trying to discover different, Water? Yes, thank you. We're trying to discover unusual behavior, unusual processes, unusual network connections, and so on. And there is just one example. There is a process that were unusual. We used to analyze these kind of findings by using like expert opinion or Google search. But nowadays we have some ChatGPT possibilities, for example. So I forwarded this question to chatbot, and it gave quite nice answer. So we can see what is this process about, what are the main parameters, and also if this process may be like suspicious or not, and also some further investigation possibilities. Yes, I would say in that point we would stop here if we just look processes from IT security department point of view. But as I mentioned before, there are organizational challenges where departments are not working together well sometimes. So, and also management want to get a larger picture. And we have our own inside knowledge base, a lot of documentation, files, and so on. So one idea behind this picture is use vector databases. Just basically take your own internal data and vectorize it. Just give mathematical representation for that. And on the other side, you can use your search on that data. So if you vectorize your search, you can start using semantic search. What does it mean? It means that you are not searching anymore exact keyword matches, but you are going to search like meaning of your data. So, and let's put it together. So there is an example diagram. There is, for example, CM alert, and there is, for example, the same process. From one side, we're going to use OpenAI, for example, to ask what is this process about. And also from other side, we are going to ask from our local vector database if we have some records about that. And finally, if we put this picture together, we can get like a larger picture for our organization. Yeah. And actually, large picture describing all those concepts. So if we have better understanding about our data, then our services will be more transparent and trustworthy for our clients, for ourselves. And yeah, actually there are single window solutions available to collect your data and apply your advanced analytical algorithms and visualize it, and also generate reports and so on. So, thank you. All
right, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. We're going to, since we're over time, we're not going to go a public question, but will you stick around, have people, can they ask you questions about this later on? Thank you very much. Give another round of applause. All right, this is it for this time. Next month, we will be coming back here on March the 20th, and it will mark the 2-year birthday of this Cyber Meetup event, because 2 years ago in March we began this for the first time. As for now, take your time. There are still some savory foods and some sweet foods and some drinks and some people around here. Take your time. Don't go anywhere. Find people who you like and who your competitors are, or maybe some enemies, and hang out with them. Thank you, everybody who's been watching us. Have a good night.